And that is a online community that I developed a couple of years ago that is basically for people just like you, young people who are interested in entrepreneurship, financial independence, side hustles, frugality, real estate investing, all that kind of stuff. And the reason I bring that up is because this is stuff that I'm passionate about, helping young people live their best lives by just thinking and making smart money decisions. And entrepreneurship is a big, big part of that. So just to get started, and I don't know if any of you all are already entrepreneurs. If you are, congratulations. That is awesome. Or maybe a lot of you are just aspiring to be an entrepreneur. In either case, one of the things you need to do to start that journey is to figure out, well, I think if you go back a step, is to figure out, do you have what it takes? Because I'll be honest, being an entrepreneur is not for everybody. The fact that all of you are on this call and doing this this entrepreneurship camp definitely tells me that you probably do have what it takes to spend part of your Saturday morning learning about entrepreneurship, listening to me talk about it, and all the other things that Armida has scheduled for today. That's awesome. That's amazing. Most young people are either still sleeping or playing their video games or I don't know, watching Netflix. So congrats to you. So I think you probably do, have what it takes, or at least enough to get started and try it out. Being an entrepreneur takes some guts, and it takes some motivation and perseverance. I wrote a blog article a while back, and it says there's 4 traits that you need to be an entrepreneur. One, you have to have you have to have a insatiable thirst for knowledge. You're continuing to learn. And when I say learn, I don't mean in school, although it could be that. It means that you're continually seeking out more information about business, entrepreneurship, the product that you want to sell. That can be podcasts, that can be reading books, that could be reading blog posts, that could be talking to people, simply networking in that. Also, entrepreneurs need to have the ability to pull the trigger at the right time. There are lots of times in your life where opportunities will come to you and you may not be completely ready for that opportunity, but maybe that's the time that you should take it. Or maybe it's not, but entrepreneurs know that opportunity doesn't come knocking on your door every day. And sometimes you just need to pull the trigger and go, even though you may not have a crystal clear vision of what everything is going to look like. Getting started is sometimes the hardest part for aspiring entrepreneurs. The other one is they don't fear failure. They actually thrive in it. An entrepreneur doesn't say, I'm afraid of what happens if I'm going to fail. An entrepreneur says, I'm afraid of what's going to happen if I don't fail. Because when I fail, I learn and I grow and I can do better next time. And then what is the 4th one? Got the ability to pull the trigger, knowledge, low fear of failure. And I'll think of the other one later. It's been a while since I wrote that article. So today, what I want to do with you guys is to get you thinking about a business idea that you could start. Some businesses are more complicated than others, obviously. But as teenagers, absolutely, there is a business out there that you can start today. That's a little bit easier to start. If you wanted to start a financial investing company, that's going to take a little bit of time. But there are things that you can start today. And so we're going to go through a few activities to help you maybe brainstorm some different business ideas and then hopefully narrow that down based on your interests, based on your skills and these types of things. Because if you don't have a passion for the business that you are running, you are starting, then it's not going to last very long. The business I have works with young people, money education, financial independence, personal finance. Those are all things that I'm very passionate about. So I enjoy working and enjoy doing meetings like this. If I didn't, I probably would not have a very successful business. So what I want to start with, I'm wondering, Armida, if I can share my screen. I can, perfect. There we go. So I want you can think about this, or if you have some paper and pen or a computer or a phone to type on, take a minute and just think about this first question. What do you like to do in your free time? List 5 activities, or give or take. What are some things that you enjoy doing? Be a little more specific than hanging out with friends. Do you enjoy video games? Do you enjoy soccer? Math? Do you enjoy yard work, gardening, babysitting? We all have things that we definitely like to do that make us happy and give us fulfillment. Maybe you enjoy cleaning or organizing. I have friends that do. They like to organize things. Maybe you like to be around pets and animals. So if you want to add more later, you can, but this is just kind of getting us a start. Next, and it doesn't have to be in boxes like this. You can just write it down, jot it down, or think about it. What skills do you have? In other words, what do you know how to do a little bit better than the average person? And let me clarify this, because when you think average person, I'm guessing you're thinking the average teenager, but that is not what the question wants to know. What can you do better than the average person? We're talking about every single possible person in the United States, all ages, all genders, religious, racial, everything. So if you take the average person in the United States, what are you a little bit better at than they are? And as a teenager, there's plenty. There's plenty. I'll give you an example. I guarantee you are better at social media than the average American. I guarantee you're probably better at Snapchat than the vast majority of Americans, and TikTok. So it doesn't have to be tech. It could be something tech related, but what are you better at than the average person? And then that says, what do people sometimes ask you for help? All right, then we'll move on to this last question. What are some problems you see in your school or community? What are people complaining about? So where I'm living right now, people are complaining that it's too hot. People are complaining that it's too smoky because we have forest fires west of us, and Denver has been really hazy and smoky lately. People complaining about going back to school, which I went back to school last week and my students come back next week. And people complain that their phone, at some point, people were complaining that their iPhone screens were cracking too easily. And then people came up and said, well, maybe we should have a case for iPhones. What are some things that not just your peers, your friends, but people in your community, what are they complaining about? What are they having trouble with? Maybe it's that their grass is dying in their yard, or it could be whatever. All right, so those 3 questions are just something to get you thinking about what is a possible business that could work for you. Going back, what do you like to do in your free time? What do you have an above average skill set for, was number 2. And number 3, what are some problems you might see in you have in your school or community that people need help with? So I'm gonna, by the way, all this stuff that I'm showing on the screen here, I'm going to send to Armida and she can get it out to all of you. I think there's really just 5 pages of stuff. So we're gonna not read all of this, I promise, but we're gonna kind of skip around here and look at some other things to help you think of a viable, high potential business idea. By the way, if you already have a business, it doesn't mean you can't start another one. It doesn't mean you can't, maybe it's not going very well. Maybe you want to try something different, or maybe it is going well and you have some money to start a second business. So keep an open mind with starting a new business. It doesn't have to be, or it can be one, or it can be, an additional business. Even if you have one, you might come up with a better idea. So right here, it says, here are some tips to help you get started. Could your hobbies become a business? And then let's go down the examples, right? So in your questions, if you said you had a skill with carpentry or welding, that could be a business. Cooking, I definitely do not, but if you have some skills or you enjoy cooking, baking, that can be a business. Technology, making websites, running social media campaigns. So I work with a ton of teenagers, including Armida, on an online community. And one of the guys, Damon, who is I think 19, is right now making really, really good money running social media campaigns and writing some blog articles for real estate investors and real estate agents. He is not overly skilled. He hasn't taken any classes. He just knows more than the average person, and they're paying him good money to do that. Writing, photography, art, music. Even if you play an instrument, but just okay, there's nothing to say that you couldn't teach that to young kids. Or maybe you're okay at golf or better than the average person at golf or whatever sport. You could still teach that to younger kids, 7, 8, 9-year-olds, because you know more than they do. Number 2 here, are there any needs that you can fill or problems you can solve? So that would go back to question number 3. So if you look at your school, does your school have an after-school food option? If not, maybe you have students or peers who are complaining about that, and you might be able to solve that problem. Or maybe you could take over concessions for a sport or do some peer tutoring or referee intramural sports league. At home, can you mow lawns or walk dogs or babysit in your neighborhood? And local community, craft items, spirit wear. Throwing some ideas out at you. If any of them kind of click, and then write them down, put them on your phone. Soon we're going to get to a long list of ideas. And if you haven't come up with an idea yet, then I will help you to do that. Probably more than one. And again, I'll send all this through Armida to you. But there's so many different great ideas, even for a young entrepreneur. 3, can you improve upon something that's already out there? A business idea absolutely does not have to be a brand new, innovative, no one's ever done it before idea. It says many businesses are formed simply because they look at an existing business and think of a way that they can improve it. I tell my students in entrepreneurship class, there's a lot of restaurants. So if you just take pizza restaurants, there's a ton of pizza restaurants out there. Doesn't mean that you couldn't start a pizza restaurant and have it be successful. You just have to change it a little bit more, be different in some way, innovate in some way. Maybe you excel in customer service or taste or ingredients, but if a business is out there already, it doesn't mean that you can't have success in that same area. 4, use what you already have. This is great. Take a look around your home or your school and think of some different resources that might be able to help you create a business. Do you have equipment or materials lying around that could be used in a business? But do make sure you have permission to use them. So I have a student who has a sticker printer at home. It's kind of weird, but I think her parents used it for something. So it can print out lots and lots of stickers. So she started creating different logos and mascots and printing tons of stickers out and selling them to different school groups, sporting groups, and even just like different clubs in her school. You know, $1 a sticker, that starts to add up pretty quick. Piggyback on hot trends. You guys know the trends in your peer group better than I do. But some things could be really, really hot, and there's probably money to be made there. And then 7, what do people ask you for help with? This goes back to question number 2 on that first sheet. What do you have skills, skill set than most average people? And maybe you have neighbors coming to help you ask help on setting up their computer, or your grandparents maybe ask that question. Maybe your parents are asking you for help with stuff, or maybe your teachers are asking you for help to do something because you are better at it than the average person. So hopefully you've jotted down some ideas. Armida, by the way, if you feel like I'm doing something too slow, too fast, please jump in, let me know. I know we have about another 15, 20 minutes and then maybe some questions. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Well, let me ask this. Does anybody have any questions right now? All right, then.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So, yeah, like, how can you measure if the idea that we got is good or like bad? I don't know, for the market or like to be executed or something like this. Because we can come up, I don't know, with many ideas, but some of them, like, we can say like that they are maybe failures in the business world. Because, yeah, how can you measure the success of the idea, like, or we should try before? Yeah, this is my question. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I'm going to reword your question. Basically, I think what you're asking is, if I have 5 ideas, how do I know which one I should pursue? How do I know which one's going to be the best business idea? And I have a chart that we're going to that I'll show you that will help you answer that question. So hang tight. I'm not going to answer it right now, but I think I'm going to get there here in a little bit. Great question, though. Anybody else have a question at this point?
I have one question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does starting a business mean that you always have to invest something in it before starting?
Are you talking about money?
Financial investments, yes.
That's a great question. Does starting a business mean you always have to invest money? No, absolutely not. The one that just popped into my mind is dog walking, right? There's a website called rover.com, rover.com. I believe that's right. And you can walk dogs in your neighborhood for money. There's a similar website where you can house sit in your neighborhood. People go on vacation or they're gone for a while. They want someone just at home, keep an eye on their house. Those, you know, that's zero money to get started. Even with the dog walking, you know, I think the owner of the dog is going to have a leash that you can use and treats that you can give the dog. All you need is the ability to walk and some free time, and you're making money. It's not, you know, if you're using Rover, you're not technically starting your own business, but you are working for yourself. And you're working when you want and how often you want. Or you could just make some flyers or go around your neighborhood, or if you ever see somebody with a dog, you could just ask them, do you ever need help walking your dog? I'm willing to walk your dog for you and charge some money. And so that would be your own business because you're not using any other website. So yes, you can start a business without having money.
I have a question too.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so if I have a business idea and I think that I would need teammates or people helping me, yeah, you get it. But people look interested but not convinced. Do you have any tips on how would you make people really invested in helping you to develop your idea?
Yeah, good question. So as an entrepreneur, you are never going to find somebody as excited about your idea as you are. That's just how the world works. We as entrepreneurs get really excited about our business and our business idea. If we weren't, we wouldn't be pursuing it. And so to find someone who is as excited is really difficult to do, or finding someone who wants to work as hard as you do is very difficult. Now, with that said, if your business idea requires a partner or a employee, you need to find somebody. But I'm just saying, out of the gate, just make sure you don't have the expectations set too high. But I will also say this, you shouldn't have to convince somebody that your idea is a good one and that they should be really, really motivated. And that, I mean, there's a spectrum there. If you have to work really hard to convince a friend, let's say, that they should join you on this business venture, then I probably wouldn't work with them. Because if you have to convince them to be excited, after a month or 2 months, that go away, and then they're either going to quit or they're not going to pull their weight. So I would say, try your best to find someone who is excited, maybe just about entrepreneurship, and then see if they're excited about your idea. Now I'm looking at this call right here, and there's 40 or 50 people on this call. If you're looking for a partner, I would start right here on this call. I'm sure Armida has some way that all of you can connect with each other during or after this entrepreneurship camp. With technology now in a lot of businesses, you don't have to be in the same area or city or even states or even country. You can work together virtually and online. If it's something that needs to be in your town, there's other websites and platforms and communities where you can find young entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs that are as excited about owning and starting a business. And I would start there. If you have to work really hard to convince somebody that your business is going to be great and they should do it, then I would say that's probably not the right person. So I don't know if that answered your question, but I think we kind of.
Yeah, it does. Thanks.
If you have questions, we'll do them at the end. I want to move on to this next page, which if you are still struggling with finding one great idea, then this page is going to help you a ton. So basically it's a list of, 40, 50 different possible business ideas for young people. And I did not come up with this. I'll give credit where credit is due. This is from a workbook called The Simple Startup, written by a friend of mine named Rob Filon. But here's a list, and I'll give you a minute to kind of browse through this. And I would have to guess that 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of these would be potential businesses that you would say, I can do that. That sounds fun. And so jot these down as well. Anything that stands out on this list. All right. If you want to, you can take a photo or a screenshot of this list. It's a great one. There's some on here that are super easy and low cost to start, and there's some that are a little bit more involved. Would take some money perhaps, or some definite expertise, but there's a lot of different ideas here. Now you might be thinking, okay, I have 5 or 10 different ideas whittled down or written down. You don't want to start 5 or 10 businesses. You want to start one. You got to start with one. So if I have overwhelmed you with choices, that's a good thing, but you do need to narrow it down to one. And this goes back to that previous question. How do you decide which business you should start if you have more than one idea? And hopefully by now you have at least one. If you only have one, then you're good. That's what you should go with. But there is, let's see here. If you can look at this, this is in the packet that Armida will give to you from my presentation. But I mean, literally, you can just get a blank sheet of paper and draw this little graph out. On the y-axis here at the bottom, anything that's not exciting, interesting, it just doesn't seem like it would be a lot of fun to own a business like this, would go towards the bottom. Towards the top would be something that you're really excited or interested in starting. And then on the bottom, the x-axis you have on the left, that would be a hard business to start versus that would be easy to start. And that would include things like knowledge, money, logistics. Maybe if you need investors, that would be harder to start than easier to start. And so, take like your top 5 choices or more if you want, and you would plot them on this graph. And so let's say dog walking. That's a really easy business to start. And if I love dogs and pets, then I'm going to put that possibility. Maybe I just write a little dot up here, top right of the chart. That's something that's interesting to me. And that's something that I think would be easy to start. It doesn't take any money, just takes a little, got to get out there and meet some people. I can do that online or just walking around my neighborhood. So that's easy and exciting versus if I was going to start a website development company, that's pretty difficult to start. And maybe that's not very exciting to me. So that would be down here. For your first business, if you've never started a business before, I think you want to be focused on ones that are in the top right. They're interesting and exciting, and they're not difficult to start. If you're starting your second, third, or fourth business, then you can go a little bit more left here. Things that are a little bit more difficult to start. Maybe they take more money or more expertise. But anything in the bottom, I probably wouldn't go with. Like I said earlier, if you don't have a passion for what your business is doing, then over time, it's probably going to fail because you're going to lose interest. You're going to lose motivation. It's going to wear you down. It's going to wear you out. And you're just not going to have that long-term fortitude to keep that business going. Because being an entrepreneur, I would tell you, is not an easy path. Even if you pick something top right, a business that you love and is easy to start, there will be roadblocks, there will be setbacks, there will be days that are really, really tough. And what gets you through that is the fact that you are passionate about it. You are interested in it. It does excite you. If that's not true, then you may last for a while, but not in the long term. So yeah, I would say if you've never started a business before, or you consider yourself a new entrepreneur, then you want things that are in the top right of this chart. And so hopefully that helps you narrow down to 1 or 2 or 3 ideas. And it's tough for me to know because we're all kind of on a screen here. I can't see your faces. It's tough for me to know if you're where you're at with what I'm going through, but I think You can always finish this up later. Ideally, right now, you have your choices narrowed down to 1 or 2 really good choices that you are interested in, probably somewhat easy to start. It's solving a problem of some kind, meaning that there's a demand for it. And you have some skills, expertise, or maybe you have the equipment that you need to get started doing that business. If you're going to mow lawns in your neighborhood, well, you need a lawnmower. And you might need a weed whacker or an edger. If you have those things and maybe your parents and they're going to let you use them, then that's an opportunity. You could buy those and still start the business, but that makes it a little bit more difficult. It goes a little bit left on the chart because you have to invest some money out of the gate. So if you have it narrowed down to 1 or 2, the next step I would say that you would want to do is do some market research and find out, is there an actual demand for this product? And that can be as simple as, if you are aware that people are complaining about it, going back to that question number 3, I think it was when we started, that could be good enough market research. If you have, people in your neighborhood complaining that their lawns aren't getting mowed, that's pretty much all you need to know. If you have friends in your group that are complaining that their backpacks are not waterproof, then that may be all you need to know. You can come up with a waterproof backpack. But sometimes market research needs to be a little bit more involved. Maybe you come up with a Google survey and you send it out, email it, or through social media, DM some friends with that Google survey link, and you ask some questions and you analyze the results. Or it could be just, maybe it's your target market are adults. So you have your parents send the email to a bunch of their friends and you get those results back. Send the survey link to a bunch of their friends. But getting more information is good, but if that information is saying that your business is not going to succeed, then you probably shouldn't move forward. If nobody wants what you are thinking about selling, then don't go there. But at some point, you're going to get enough feedback, I hope, that says, you know what, there is a demand for this. It doesn't have to be everybody. Not everybody needs to want your product. It could be as small as 5 or 10%, perhaps, that need what you are thinking that you want to put out in the marketplace, what you want to sell. 5 or 10% or even less can be enough to make a very successful business. If only 10% of your neighbors are looking for someone to help walk their dog, that could be 5 neighbors, and that could be a good part-time job that makes you some solid money. I have some other things that I could get into, but I definitely want to answer questions. So we're kind of down to, Armida, when am I officially done? Is it 11 or 10 till?
So we can go for another 14 minutes, but then after that, we have to end it there. So we can go up to that.
Okay, so we have a maximum of 14 minutes left. So let's go back to questions. If there aren't any, I can get into some not quite as important topics, but I want to make sure that if there's questions, I get to them. So
I have a question for you, please.
Yep.
Okay, so let's take, for example, the idea of t-shirt design. As teenagers, it seems like a good idea, but I think that in order to start a business like this, you're going to need a capital. So what do you think is the most brilliant idea to gain a really strong capital to start with?
So for the t-shirt business, you're saying you need capital, you need money to start. And how would you get that? Is that the question, I guess?
Yes.
Okay. So as a teenage entrepreneur, there's good and bad here. All right. I'll start with the bad. And this is under the context of I need to borrow some money in order to start my business. If someone's going to give you money, then go for it, right? But in the normal entrepreneur world, someone is going to lend you money, or they're going to give you money, and in return, you're going to give them a share of your business. That's kind of like a Shark Tank kind of deal, right? But most likely, someone's going to give you $1,000, but they want you to pay them back, and maybe with some interest. They're going to invest, but then they want the money back. So the bad news here is that as a teenager, people don't trust you, right? If you came to me and said, I want $1,000, well, I'm a little different. But if you went to the average adult out there and said, hey, I have a great idea, and I'm going to start a drone photography business and take pictures of different events in the neighborhood and sell those pictures to weddings, anniversaries, birthday parties, whatever, because I have this drone and it takes good pictures. Most adults are going to say, that's kind of a good idea, but you're 16 and I don't really trust you, so I'm not going to lend you money. I mean, that's the bad thing, right? You don't have successful businesses in your past, I don't think, and you're young, and people just, they don't trust teenagers, unfortunately. The good thing is that you are a teenager to help you. Generally, people, if they see a young person who is striving, working hard, has some high goals, ambitions, they are going to tend to want to give you money and help you out. Or maybe they won't lend you the money, but they'll mentor you, or they'll answer some questions for you, maybe because they're an entrepreneur themselves. So the good and bad there is, I would start, if I was a teenager looking to raise some capital to start a business, I would start with the people that the adults, because you have to go to people who have money. So your friends probably don't have money. They know you very well, they trust you, but they don't have the money to give you. So you're going to probably have to go to adults, and I would ask to borrow money from the people that know me best, the people that trust me, the people that want to support me, probably family, friends, maybe people at your church, maybe people who lead the clubs that you're in. If you're in the Girl Scouts, maybe there's some adult leaders there who would lend you $100, $200 to start your business. Neighbors, people that you know. If you're looking to get an actual loan from a bank or a financial institution, that can happen, but you're going to have, if you're under 18, if you're 18 or older, you can do that. But if you're under 18, you're going to have a parent, talk to the bank with you. And I will tell you that that's pretty tough unless you go to a bank that specifically works with teenagers or young people. So in Denver, Colorado, where I'm from, there's a bank called Young Americans Bank, and they lend money to aspiring young teenage entrepreneurs all the time. So depending on where you're at, maybe just Google bank for teenagers in Cincinnati, Ohio, wherever, and see if there is a bank or a financial institution that specifically deals with young entrepreneurs. And there very well might be, or some kind of an organization that deals with young entrepreneurs. And if so, check out their website and see what the process looks like and go with that.
Thank you.
Yes. So I see some in the chat, and I don't know if I'm going to go in order, but we are running a little bit out of time. So I see one that says, is starting a nonprofit organization considered entrepreneurship? The answer is definitely yes. Starting a nonprofit is a business. And here's one thing about nonprofits that people tend to forget. Nonprofits have to make money. That's it. Nonprofits are not interested in making the most profits like a for-profit business is, but nonprofits still have to have income. They still have to generate revenue. Money has to be coming into nonprofits for them to operate, because nonprofit businesses have expenses. That money could come in from sales. It could come in from donations. It could come in from outside investors. But I think one thing people tend to think is that a nonprofit doesn't have to make any money. False. If If you have a nonprofit and no money is coming in, that nonprofit business will not be around very long. It still has to have money coming in. What is your advice to young entrepreneurs to start up, et cetera? Thank you. My general advice is go for it. You know, that list I had, there's got to be at least one idea there that stands out and would be top right of that chart for you. Very interested, easy to start, and just do it. Just go for it. Pull the trigger and see what happens. Most businesses fail, guys. I think the average successful entrepreneur has started and failed 9 times with businesses before they find that successful. That's a lot of failure, but you learn every time you go. Now, you should think of it this way. That means that you need to start 10 businesses, and that 10th one will be successful. I mean, if you were aligned directly with the data, hopefully it's sooner than that, but you can't get to that very successful 10th business or whatever it happens to be, maybe it's 7, unless you have those failures preceding it that you learn from along the way. Because when you make one big mistake in business number 1, I guarantee you, if you a year from now start business number 2, you won't make that same mistake again. You'll run that second business better. Now, I know that's disheartening because everyone wants to think that their first business is going to be uber successful and it's the one that you're most excited about. And I'm not saying it can't be, but odds are it won't be. But you will learn so much in the process that will make your second business, your third business, your fourth business much more likely to succeed. So my advice is just go for it. Can teenagers start offline businesses like companies to enter and compete in some industries? It's kind of difficult for legal paperwork and stuff. Can teenagers start offline businesses? I'm assuming you mean like a non-web-based business. Yeah, absolutely. When you get into legal paperwork and stuff, you need help with that, right? When I started my business and I was in my 40s, when I started my first business, I leaned on a lot of people for help, and I still do. I have more than one lawyer that I work with, more than one accountant, and I have promotion people and people. I mean, I need help. So this is another thing that entrepreneurs get caught up with. They think they should do it all themselves. And most of us entrepreneurs, we're very proud people. We have a lot of pride in all of our hard work, and we're taking the risk and we're taking the chance, and we want to be successful and eventually maybe even recognized for all that hard work. But you cannot do this by yourself. You cannot start a business and only rely on yourself and have it be successful. The chances are almost 0. You must rely and get help from many, many other people. And so the way that happens the best is to network. Put yourself out there on social media. The best place to be, guys, for business is LinkedIn. If you don't have a LinkedIn account, which is it's a social media, but it's not like Snapchat or TikTok or Instagram. It's a professional business community social media platform. Free, it's all free. You do that today. Start a LinkedIn account, and on there start connecting with people, friends of your parents, your own friends, people that are in your neighborhood, and tell everybody that you're an entrepreneur. Tell everybody you're starting a business that is the drone photography business. Let everybody know. And when they come to you and offer you help, you take it. And so when it gets to things like legal paperwork, ask for help. Ask people, say, I am a new entrepreneur. Does anybody have any advice for me about what legal paperwork I need to get done for this type of a business? And someone will help you out, especially on LinkedIn. If you're in my community, SheeksFreaks, someone will help you out in there. I'll have Armida, if you're interested in joining the SheeksFreaks online community for entrepreneurs and investors, let Armida know and we'll get you in. It's free. And we have a lot of young, awesome, amazing people in there. Let's see. When you start a business, how do you find your dream team? That goes back to what I said earlier. If you have to convince people that your business is a great idea and they should work hard on it alongside you, then I mean, you do have to explain your idea, but you shouldn't have to, go to convince them over and over and over again. Either they're on board or they're not. But again, it goes back to networking. To find your dream team, you need to network. You might go on LinkedIn and post about your idea. And let's see here. Mona, who lives across the country, might message you and say, I have the same idea. Let's team up. But unless you're putting yourself out there and telling people what you're doing and what you want to do, it's difficult to find people that can work along with you. All right, maybe I have time for one more. I have a business, but I don't have many customers. Do you have any ideas to increase the amount of customers? Oh, that's a big question for the last one. It comes down to promotion, and you want to be promoting in many different ways, hopefully ways that don't cost a lot of money. Social media. If you have a promotion budget, you could. Oh, I don't know what was going on there. I think I'm back. But also don't shy away from kind of old school promotion, like a flyer or an email, emailing people It depends on the type of business specifically, but ask anybody in this call what they do to promote their business, and I guarantee you'll find 5 or 6 different ideas that will help you out. And by the way, if you're not connecting with the people on this call, then you are missing a huge opportunity to network. And everybody on here can help everybody else out, but someone's got to make that first step and say, Emerald, hey, let's connect offline. Let's connect outside this meeting and see if we can help each other out. All right. I think that I need to stop, right, Armida?
Yeah, so we have another guest speaker joining now, but thank you so much for the session and for answering everyone's questions. And maybe if people want to connect with you after, if you're comfortable with sharing your contact information, they can reach out with their other questions.
Yeah, if you want to get a hold of me, what I will do, I'm going to stay on the call, Armida. I'm going to get a link to that PDF and I'll put my email address in the chat in about 3 minutes. So those of you who want to connect with me, keep an eye in the chat. I'll put a link to the PDF and I will put my email address in there and you can reach out to me anytime. And if you want to join the SheeksFreaks online community, send me an email.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. So now we're going to be moving on to our next guest speaker. Her name is Naomi Porter, and she is an education reform advocate, and she's a serial entrepreneur who has started more than 2 businesses at 16, and she's impacted more than 2,000 people. So Naomi, you can get started whenever you're ready.
Yeah, let's go for it. So hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. So my name is Naomi Porter. And so my current PowerPoint is not working right now. And so it's having its own fun little field day. But we're going to roll with it, friends. So this is not the usual PowerPoint that I'm going to work with, but I have a different one prepared for us today. So kind of exactly what Armida was saying. So my name is Naomi Porter. I am 16 years old from Los Angeles, California. I am the CEO and founder of 2 businesses, which I started when I was 11 and 13. They are Spice It Up and Bright Futures Tutoring and Academic Coaching. and I am an education reform advocate because when I was younger, when I was looking to get into business and pursuing my passion, simply put, our education system was not equipped to answer my questions about taxes, employment law, branding, advertising, these basics of business. And I had to go externally to do so. And so I believe that at the core of our education system, we should be preparing youth for the jobs of today and tomorrow. And so that's why I started EntrepreYOUeurship, which is an international youth-led not-for-profit organization, soon to receive 501c3 status, but currently just a nonprofit. And so we are a team of about 85, I think it's now officially 86, from 26 countries as we work to democratize and widen entrepreneurial education for youth. And so we have curriculums and programs implemented in schools. We have free consulting services to help you create business plans. We have an ongoing mentorship program and a global startup funding competition that's actually available to all of you here on this call today. It's just been launched yesterday, so you are one of the first people to get this application and get this into the hands of young entrepreneurs and people who are interested in entrepreneurship, which is why all of you are here today. And so our tagline is, you can do it too, because we want youth to see themselves as capable of launching ventures even when they are young, because it's A, never too late to start, and B, why not start now? Because youth are the future and we are the now. And so why not equip us with the skills we need to be successful? And so a little bit more about me and EntrepreYOUeurship. We have been featured internationally in Forbes, as well as the Daily Breeze, the Conversationalist. We recently did a podcast with the Wharton School of Business as we continue to advocate for a future where all youth receive the skills necessary for the jobs of the future. And so that comes with a lot of pushback, because our generation and generations above us, they like tradition, but also they really dislike change. And so this is something that we continue to push for and to advocate for, because the next generations, we want to equip them with the skills they need to actually be successful. And so let's just talk a little bit about what I believe entrepreneurship to be. You've probably heard from various people what their take is on entrepreneurship, and here's mine. So entrepreneurship is just the process of designing and launching essentially a new venture. But I would even go as far to say as it's creating something when there once was nothing. And so coming here today is what I believe the first step in your entrepreneurial journey, saying yes to learning about something kind of different. It's a very new idea. It's not like this has been around for years to come and there's all these classes. If there was, I probably wouldn't be speaking to you today about the need for entrepreneurship. But just as looking around your community and figuring out how your passions intersect with that of the needs of the community. So it's kind of like the definition of a collaboration and a compromise. And so there is no box for entrepreneurship. It's not like you can only make money. It's not like you only have to have a service. Products, services, social movements are all forms of entrepreneurship. And lastly, it does not require venture capital or an MBA. All of you are youth and you are entrepreneurs, whether or not you realize it now, because you don't have to have venture capital. You don't have to go to Harvard Business School to be considered an entrepreneur and to go into these fields. And so there's this term called an entrepreneurial mindset, which I'll go over a little bit more today. And so it's a new term. Like all things in entrepreneurship, you're probably gonna hear me say that at least 5 times, because again, entrepreneurship is very new, but I've dwindled it down to 3 main things. Entrepreneurs first are go-getters. We claim the power to take ownership of a project. Instead of saying, I wish someone would do something about this, or if only this problem could be changed, we say, well, why not me? And why not now? And we do it together. It's not just this problem is affecting me, so only I'm going to solve it. We build teams. We figure out, okay, there's this collective problem. How are we collectively going to solve it? Next, entrepreneurs view problems as opportunities. We need these new and creative solutions to meet the needs around us. And lastly, flexible thinking. You have to be willing to change plans to overcome present and future challenges. For example, adapting in the pandemic. So I'm the CEO of a tutoring business, which again is super generic, but it's a business nonetheless. And you have to figure out what needs to make yours stand out. And for us, it was that we didn't have a liability of brick and mortar classrooms. We weren't paying rent. Instead, we bought a Zoom membership, which seems so simple now, but we did this pre-pandemic, which really allowed us to adapt based on the needs of our society, and where a lot of people in our area and a lot of businesses, they really felt through, because you don't want to pay lots of money for a storefront when you don't need it. And so lastly, just within this what is entrepreneurship category, because I could talk for hours, friends, but 3 things that I believe entrepreneurs need to be started and to be the best version of an entrepreneur that they can. The first is passion. What do you actually care about? Because when you're passionate about something, A, you can hear about it in people's voice. And that tells you everything you need to know. When you're talking with people and you hear that passion, you want to invest in them, whether it's with money, whether it's with mentorship, or even just a like, comment, subscribe on Instagram, YouTube, you name it. You want to invest in them because you see how much they care about it. Second is solutionizing. People do not buy products, they buy solutions. So looking around your community and figuring out what problems you can solve, potentially with a product, potentially with a service, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Because adapting a current product that already exists, or offering something simply because it's cheaper or in a different way. And lastly, dedication. You need to dedicate time to the process. Our community at EntrepreYOUeurship, we are here to help you generate ideas and to really help them come to life. But that won't happen without hard work, dedication, and determination, despite a pandemic, despite your age, despite anything like that. If you're determined, you can do great things. And so with that, if you're stuck with passion, because a lot of times people go, I am super passionate about something, or you're on the other side and you're like, I have no idea what I care about. Naomi, you know, the people who were in front of us, who were in front of me speaking, I hear you say it, you should do something you're passionate about. But what if you don't know what that passion is, right? What if you're absolutely stuck? In which case I would say, look at the Sustainable Development Goals, also known as the SDGs. So these are 17 global goals outlined by the United Nations. And so on the UN website, there's a list of these goals and what everyone is doing to solve them. And so there's examples of projects that people have taken. There's ideas of action projects, self projects, global projects. And so when you read on these websites, and if you see something that really speaks out to you, if you're reading about something, you go, wait a minute, that affects me, or that affects my loved ones, or it ignites this spark in you, that's how you know you found your passion and something that you're willing to take to the next level. And so if you're stuck, my best advice is to look at these problems, because these are kind of this best landing point and the best platform to take your entrepreneurship and your journey to the next level. And when you align with the Sustainable Development Goals, it really leads way for media. It leads way for people to want to connect with you, because you're not just making money solely for the purpose of me, 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 me. It's a me to we mentality, right? Instead of going, I'm making this product so I can make money, it's no, I'm doing this for the greater good. And you're more likely to have people want to invest in you and have people want to invest in your idea. And so with that, well, how do you actually get started? So I've generated a list, and the team at EntrepreYOUeurship, we've generated a list of businesses that you can start today, some examples, and we invite you to use or adapt any of the following ideas to share with problems in your community. And so I'm just going to go over a couple of these that have won our global funding competition in the past. And so the first is simple. These are all simple ideas, by the way, friends. These are not revolutionary. The first would be called Jump to Success. And so again, what problem does it solve? Well, the mission is to provide after-school exercise classes to children and youth. And so this solves the problem of a lack of access to affordable exercise classes because young students need more opportunities to exercise, simply put, especially in the United States, where obesity here is one of our greatest problems. And so doing something about that, if you have the skills and the passions to do it, then use our startup funding competition. And so an example of the funding that you could get would be jump ropes, weights, and yoga mats from Amazon, and our organization would pay for that. The next could be called Art in the Park. The mission is a service-based business that teaches children to paint. Again, simple ideas, friends. The next is, well, what problem does it solve? Lack of affordable access to art classes. I know in my area, art classes are ridiculously expensive. And if you're just a young student who's interested in pursuing it, even just for 30 minutes after class, paying hundreds of dollars to paint on canvas might not be the best option. And then lastly, for funding, it would be to order canvas, paints, and paintbrushes. And our organization, again, would pay for that. And I'll go over how that works in a little bit. And lastly, could be a mobile car wash service, right? Bringing car wash services directly to the home of the customer. And so this provides an affordable option for consumers to have their cars clean, and it reduces the amount of water used to clean cars, because instead of going in one of those, big Costco type car washes that takes so much energy and it takes so much production cost to spray your entire car with water, it really is a waste. You're reducing that consumption. And so funding examples would be to order towels, a mini vacuum, and cleaning supplies, which we would pay for. And so now you're probably like, okay, well, Naomi, you talked about paying for things. How does that work? Well, let me explain. So with that, oh yes, sorry, friends, I forgot about PowerPoint. Last piece of advice, and then I'll get to the things that we're also desperate to hear about. My last advice is just to get started today, because entrepreneurship, it really does look different for everyone, and there's no right or wrong way to be an entrepreneur. You can be 11 like me, you can be 21, you can be 101. There really is no age gap on when you can make change in your community, because our world is really waiting for you and waiting for your ideas. And so we're here to support you in every step of the way, which finally will lead me to our funding opportunities. Nice little segue there. And so our global startup funding competition is officially live, and I will put that in the chat. It is due December 15th. It is 3 short answer questions. What is the story behind why you're starting or started a business? What problems are you solving? And what is your solution to the problem, and why will it work? And then a 1-minute video pitch. It's a pretty standard funding application. Everything is available on our website, which I will put in the chat after this. And everything here is all listed there. There's examples of previous pitches and things like that. You just have to be between the ages of 10 and 21. But if you have a problem with that, or if you're 9 years old and you really want to do it, please reach out to us. We're more than happy to help you out. That's just our recommended age. And just fill this out, and we're going to be announcing our global winners in December. And so there's media features opportunities, there's funding for your venture, international exposure. And so if you want to win the startup funding competition, you automatically become a global winner, which will give you access to our network of amazing ambassadors and things like that. But if you're not interested in that, that is okay, because there are so many more opportunities here at EntrepreYOUeurship. The first is to become an ambassador. We have an amazing team of ambassadors. It is a flexible time commitment. You can earn community service hours upon request. There is an international team of youth. We have 25 countries represented, and so you won't be waking up at the crack of dawn to go on our calls. We understand where you're from. And there's opportunities to be featured on social media. We have an Ambassador of the Day program. We have monthly prize competitions for winners, and they are the first to get access to future funding. And so, like I mentioned, we launched this about yesterday, and our ambassadors just received it this morning. And you guys are the first people, because you're the first workshop that we've done since we've announced our global startup funding competition, which again, I will put in the link in our bio. But this is a great way to get network to a community and just get your entrepreneurship started within a very kind of low-key setting. It's not any stakes. There's not big deal. It's like, it's just to get you started. And it's not like if you don't present or anything like that, it's the end of the world, because it absolutely is not. And we just want to be there for you in every step of the way. So you can join our Discord, which we have free consulting. There's peer feedback on business plans and an international community. And they are the third people to know about all of our opportunities. It first goes to our core team, then our ambassadors, and then our Discord, and then the general public. So that's another way to stay connected with us. And I will put that link in the chat. And so if you have any questions, I can answer questions now, as well as you can reach out to me on Instagram, Naomi Porter PV, on pretty much every platform, LinkedIn. I don't know if you're on Clubhouse or anything like that. I'm pretty much there always, Naomi Porter PV, and I don't believe in the follow for follow back or whatever that whole situation is, like having more followers than following. Like, friends, I will follow you back. So please reach out to us. And same with EntrepreYOUeurship, because I think it's ridiculous to have, you know, so many followers not following real people, because we're only human, friends. So I will put those in the chat, and please go on ahead and follow us, and we're more than happy to follow you and stay connected with you and your entrepreneurial journeys. And I'll put all our website in the chat, where our website is where you can find pretty much everything. You can find our startup funding competitions. Actually, you know what? I'll share my screen so you guys can see what I'm actually talking about. So you're not like, Naomi's all talk. Nope, I'm going to show you our screen. So it's just entrepreneurship.org. And so you can see where we've been featured, where you can become an ambassador, joining our Discord, applying for startup funding. The current one that's for startup funding is just for US based, and that ends August 15th. But then we have another one that's coming out soon, but it won't be available to the general public. So I'll just put it in this chat. And then here's where you can join our team. Here's a list of all our upcoming events, which I know some of you found this event from there. You can meet our core team, our ambassadors, our journalists, and a little bit more about us, as well as you can follow us and see all of our upcoming presentations. And so with that, I'm going to put everything in the group chat, in the chat, and you can go ahead and check out all of those programs, because we want to have you as a part of our team, and we cannot wait to see where you take your entrepreneurial journey. So with that, I'm going to answer any questions. Let me just make sure that everything is on there. I'm going to make sure you all have access to everything. And yeah, so let me go ahead and answer any question. I'll take a look in the chat now, or you can private message me. What made me want to start a business at 11 years old? That is a great question. So really it came with thinking in my community and seeing a problem that affected me. So my first business was Spice It Up, which sells affordable and portable spice kits marketed to travelers and bloggers as they are looking for more affordable accommodations. And so it affected me personally as a consumer, because I was always backpacking, camping, you name it. And if you've ever been camping or backpacking, you know that camp food is not always the most tasty, and you want to spice it up, hence the name. And so with that, I wanted to make sure that whenever I was camping, I had actually good food, especially when you're in the wilderness. You want to make sure that you're healthy, and sometimes eating vegetables that are just out of a can does not taste the best. So I wanted to do something about it. And so it really came out of a need for me personally. And so it wasn't as much of a, oh, this is a global thing, but as I was talking to other people, I realized it was a global need. And it wasn't just that this was affecting me, because responsible consumption is something that is so huge. Again, part of the SDG, full circle here, because so often we just buy, and we don't think about reusing. We don't think about reducing our impact, and we don't think about kind of repurposing these more common items. It doesn't seem like a big deal. Okay, just spices. But what if you took all those spices and you put them in plastic bags, and all of a sudden they're lost in when you're camping, and you know, animals get a hold of them, and that's just like really bad for our carbon footprint and the environment in general. Oh, this is a great question. Did I face any difficulties, and how did I go about facing them? The biggest difficulty I would say is self-confidence for me, because I mean, while it might come across as being an entrepreneur is really glitzy and glamorous and you get to work for yourself and it's no big deal, it really takes a toll sometimes because you want to have a semi-normal life. But normal is a construct. I believe it's a social construct of what normal looks like. Definitely at my high school, it's a very competitive high school. And so it's sometimes hard for me to share about what I do and be honest about it with people without them thinking that she's an overachiever or she's cocky and she's stuck up and she is just annoying and a weird person. Because at a time when I love being an entrepreneur and I love doing this, it's my passion, it's what brings me life. It's sometimes difficult to connect with other people in your region and in your area. But how I went about it is now I'm part of several global communities. EntrepreYOUeurship is kind of the home for me of similar-minded people. There's a Rise community of amazing people, which I know Patience, you're a part of, which is how I met you, which is phenomenal, as well as some other virtual communities like the Conversationalist that have really just given me life and given me purpose and reiterated the fact that what I'm doing is important. And I think how are we doing on time, Arnita?
So we have about 7 to 8 more minutes.
Okay, perfect. So if there are any more questions, feel free to put them in the chat and I see everyone's LinkedIn, so I'll try to connect with you all there. Oh yeah, I'll give you guys my LinkedIn. It's a good idea. Okay, again, it's shocker, friends. It's Naomi Porter PP. Here we go. And I'll connect with all of you on LinkedIn for sure. And I'd be happy to endorse you for anything because I know that's important for some people. So go for it, and I would be more than happy to help you out. Perfect. Thank you, everyone. And I will definitely connect with all of you. If there are any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or you can direct message me.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you. So, yeah, like, I don't know, like for young entrepreneurs, do you think like running after funding opportunities or things like that, like, is it helpful or like, I don't know, maybe for your personal experience, did you do that or something like this, or is it too early? Because yeah, we see every startup look for funding or for competition to win this amount of money or something like that. But yeah, starting a business at 16 years old or 15 years old, or for you like 11 years old, like when you wanted to grow, like what did you do? Did you
Yeah.
stuff or did something else? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I absolutely love that. And so often with these startup funding competitions, it's hard because they give really big amounts of money. And sometimes when you're a startup, you don't need all that money, especially when you're younger. So for me, I don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of venture capital. And so chasing after those bigger competitions just wasn't something that was in the works for me. But again, it just differs with every business, but that's why I started EntrepreYOUeurship, because sometimes you don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars or even $100. You might just need, $50 to just get started. And that's why we started our startup funding competition, because we realized that these like competitions, to your point, they're super competitive. And sometimes if you're just getting started, you don't have any media press, you aren't even sure if this is the direction you want to go in, it hurts to get rejected. I'm going to be straight up honest. I've been rejected for many things and it just feels very defeating. Like, oh my goodness, people don't believe in me. They don't believe in my idea. Let's stop this. But at EntrepreYOUeurship, that's where we differ, because we don't have a set amount of, there's only going to be 2 winners and they have to be from here and all these rules, because we want as many people to be winners as they can. And if you're not selected, we're going to give you other opportunities and we're going to make sure that we can edit your business plan with you. So that way, the next time that you apply, you have that feedback and it's not just like you've been straight up rejected. It's no, we want to work with you so that way you can get where you need to be. And so that's kind of the biggest thing there. And then in terms of what I did, I had a startup funding competition that I applied for. But again, I only won, I think maybe $100, $200. So it wasn't like crazy amounts of money. I mean, that is a lot of money when you're a sixth grader and when you're 11 years old. But, you know, looking now in the business world, you realize, okay, $200, that's enough to maybe get some people started. But it was enough for me to get my first thing of inventory and products and things like that. So it just differs with what your thing is. And if you're thinking of starting, say, like a service-based business, you might not need money. Like for tutoring, I didn't need any money. I had everything that I needed, and it's just service-based. Whereas if you're like selling things, and that might be more important. And I hope that answers your question. But if you're thinking about applying for startup funding, definitely do it through EntrepreYOUeurship, because we always have things rolling out. Oh yes, and I will gladly resend the application. Here is the link for the application. And then here's the link to become an ambassador. Let me send it to you all, friends, right now.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
So basically, when it comes to your business or your startup or whatever, how do you deal with wanting validation from everybody when you're not confident in yourself about taking certain steps?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so for me, the weirdest thing for me is that I'm a pretty confident person on the inside. So I know that what I'm doing matters. I get a lot of validation from my family and from my close friends. It's on the outside that it really messes with my brain. Like, especially at my school, there's been a lot of like hate comments about what I do, and then I'm too whatever, you know, fill in the blank. But for me, the pandemic was really a blessing because I took a step back from all of that. I was really able to grow into who I am and who I want to become as a global citizen, and not just thinking in my small area, if these people don't like me, it's the end of the world, because there is a global community. All of you on this call right now, you are part of the network, right? I think the person before me was talking about networking, and that's something that's been so huge for me. And so in terms of self-confidence, I've definitely grown a little bit more self-confident when I post on social media, because I used to share absolutely nothing about what I did, or where I got featured or what my organization was about. But all of a sudden during this pandemic, I went, you know what? Who cares? Who cares? I'm not going to be with these people for only 2 years. I don't give any problems. If they don't like me, I don't want to be friends with them in the first place, and that's okay. Knowing that I'm going to go to school and people are going to talk behind my back, well, you know what? I'll give them to something to talk about. I'm going to work my butt off so that way I can make sure that I'm the best version of myself. So the people who do validate me and the people who go, yes, what you're doing is phenomenal, have something to talk about as well. And they're with me and we're joining together. And so that was kind of the biggest kind of spur of inspiration, that I was like, you know what? Who cares? I'm going to post on social media. I'm just going to like go for it full send and see what comes back. And thanks to that, I met the amazing founder who invited me today. And all of you here today, which wouldn't have been possible without this pandemic, which is really interesting because there's been a lot of loss with this pandemic, and I'm not trying to downplay that. It's been really hard, economically, financially, you name it. But it's been a blessing for me, and I've just kind of looked at it from a different lens, and knowing that when I step back on that campus in a week and a half, that's okay with me, and I'm going to do that with confidence, knowing that I'm dead set in who I am and what I believe in. Okay, I'll answer this one more. Do you think that Upwork, oh yeah, is a good platform for teenagers? Oh yeah, Emerald, are you trying to say something, friend?
Yes, I have a question, and the question I have is that how do you create a unique customer service? Because if you're trying to solve a problem, as you said, some different problems because how we see problems and I'm going to talk about so how do we make our own problem solving?
Okay, I'm not sure what you said. I don't know if it was just me, but your Wi-Fi might be a little bit difficult. So if you want to go ahead and put that in the chat, or if you want to reach out to me personally, and I will let you know. I'm not sure what you said, but I want to get to your question. So if you want to go ahead and put that in the chat, I think that might be the best plan of action. Okay, I'm going to answer this next question. What advice for... Oh yeah, translations. So offer translation and teaching and other services. Oh, got it. So you kind of want to like sort of tutor and like teach people things and you want to make that sort of your business, but the Upwork didn't work for you. Upwork is kind of hard. It's hard to find like your specific target people. And so the best thing I would say is just to be bold in reaching out. So reach out to teachers, see if they have any students who are falling behind. Oh, thank you for your question, Emerald. I appreciate it. So reach out to teachers and say, hey, are there any students who are falling behind? I'd love to tutor them, or I'd love to work with them for a discounted rate or something like that. Because if you really care about doing that and you're not as much in it for the money, you can charge less to begin with and then start ramping up your prices once you have that experience under your belt. Because you can say, oh, look at my reference. I already tutored for Mrs. blah, 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 this teacher, and she loved my tutoring. And so now I'm going to charge more, and start to build kind of credibility. So for me with my tutoring, I did it at my local elementary school, and now they have me as the reference. So if anyone's like, hey, Jimmy needs help with fractions, then they're like, oh, let me connect you to Bright Futures tutoring. And so building kind of that rep with teachers is something that's a good place to start. Okay, I think one of our last questions, because I want to be conscious of time, is how do I create a unique customer service? Oh, that's a good question. So like, how do you have a unique customer service sort of a brand? So that's a great question, Emerald. I'd say the thing is to figure out what makes you stand out and really advertise that and make sure that customers know that they're more than just a price tag and that they mean something to you. And so for me, what that looked like was giving free sessions certain places to certain students, because if they couldn't afford tutoring or things like that, as well as having free midweek check-ins where we just said, hey, how are you doing with this specific skill that we practiced, or things like that. Oh, do I invest in the stock market or real estate? I do invest in the stock market. Yep, I have a retirement plan situation. So with all the money that I've made from my businesses, I have invested that in a Roth IRA account. So I am currently saving for retirement. Okay, and I think we got to all of them, and I think we got like right on time-ish, maybe a little bit over. But how are we doing on time there?
So it's good. I think that like the program went well. So thank you so much for answering everyone's questions and the presentation. I think that was awesome. So again, thank you so much for joining us. And people can reach out to you with the contact information that you've provided if they have any more questions.
Just put my email in the
I
chat.
have one question.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so your site, Entrepreneurship, I think that is right. Your own business thing. So does that help people with investing and all, like guiding them maybe or stuff to how to get started on investing in stocks and stuff? Or is it just purely about entrepreneurship and business?
We have a little room or a channel, I guess you would call it, our Discord channel specifically for economics. And so that's where people are having a lot of questions about this stocks or this and that. And so that's a great platform to join. And for it, we also have an advice section. And so we work on that. And we're currently trying to develop more curriculums and platforms. So that way we're not solely on entrepreneurship, but we're also going to be doing some financial literacy, some stock marketing. We're currently beta testing and working on that curriculum. But currently we're just mostly entrepreneurship based, but we also have branched out to stock market and things like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Looking forward to having you join us. Okay, with that, thank you all so much for having me. I look forward to connecting with all of you and seeing you in our entrepreneurship channel. We are super excited to have you on our team, and thank you so much to EmpowerEcon for inviting me. So thank you guys so much, and have a great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Naomi. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, so before we move on to the final section of the event, which is just some independent work in breakout rooms, we would like you to fill out the following feedback form. So I'm going to put that into the chat, and I'm going to give everyone a few minutes to do that. Also, if you've recently joined and you are going to be working in teams, please put your team number before your name so that we know which breakout room to assign you to when we do move into the breakout room. So I'm going to play some music and give everyone some time to do that. So I see many people are filling out the feedback form, so thank you for that. Make sure to do it if you haven't already. And in a few minutes, we're going to be moving into the breakout rooms. And for those of you who do not have people in your team, if you're working individually, I'm also going to be assigning random breakout rooms so that you can meet new people and maybe discuss with them there if you would like. And then if some of your teammates are also not here, I'm going to be doing that, and you can reach out to them via email because I do know that there are different time zone differences, and so that is another factor as well. Okay, so thank you to everyone who filled out the forms. And again, make sure to do so if you haven't already. I'm now going to be opening up the breakout room. So we did email everyone worksheets that they are going to be using in order to come up with an idea. I know that our first guest speaker went through a process, and I hope that you got some ideas after that, but I hope that you guys can come up with an idea now and think about it so that tomorrow you can actually focus on executing and creating your pitch for the third day of the event. So I'm going to be opening up breakout rooms, and make sure to contact me if you have any questions.
Hello there.
Hello. What's up?
Hi. We were kind of a little bit confused because like right now we are seeing we need to like come up with and refine our initial idea. So do we like pick an idea that was shown in the PDF, or do we, because we have businesses of our own already and we are also working on a nonprofit. So can we work on those things or should we come up with something new?
Oh no, it can be anything that you would like. The things that we list are just like ideas and such. So if you want to go with something that's like completely different, that's like totally fine. It doesn't have to be like confined to a specific thing.
All right. That's cool. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Amrita,
Hello, yeah.
did you email some worksheets to us right now?
Yeah, I did. Did you receive
Okay,
them?
I haven't received. No, I haven't. That's why I was asking.
Can you please send your email in the chat so I can send it again?
Yeah, sure.
And if anyone else wants the worksheets, please type so tell me in the chat and I will send it to your email.